And once you've finalized your layout, it's time to move on to the next step. I made a few little tweaks here and there. I extended out this edge about that far, just using some of the Sculptamold, just laying on a thick layer. And I raised up this back corner, removed the tree that was there, put it back there, and I also removed all the rock molds that I had placed here because I had put them in the worst spots. I put them where I put this, I put the other one where I have this, and the other one was right where this guy would stand, so they were just too awkward, so I'd remove those. So for the next step, you're just going to want to remove everything, because we're going to be painting the rocks to make them look realistic. And to do that, I'm going to be using some pretty basic products. These are the Woodland Scenics Earth Colors liquid pigments. So I'll be using, let's see, probably Stone Gray, Burnt Umber, and Yellow Ochre. Also got White and Slate Gray, but I'll be using these three. Alright, to use this liquid pigment, all you need to do is either apply it straight if you really want a strong color, or dilute it with water, which is what I'm going to do. So I shouldn't need too much for such a small surface, but it's good to have enough and not have to mix anymore. I'm going to mix it about, I'm going to do 1:1 with this. Just might need a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and mix that up. Alright, and just using a brush. This is called the leopard spotting technique. It's a pretty common technique. Definitely didn't invent it. Basically, you just go through and add little dots on the rocks as one of the first steps. And you don't want these to be large because of the scale. One thing I'm going to be doing is doing a dirt road down the center, and I'm going to want that to be a lighter color than the rest of the ground, so I'm just going to go ahead and paint that area with this color. And move on to the second color, which is the burnt umber. And we're just going to do the same thing. Alright, the clean brush, I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing. Just do a little leopard spots. And it's time for the final step. I've given this plenty of time to dry. I actually zapped it with a hair dryer just to speed it up. I'll be using stone gray. A black pigment is actually better for this step, but I don't have black. I have either slate gray or stone gray, and I just like the stone gray a bit more. So for this one, you're going to want to mix this about 10 to 1. So just a little bit of pigment and a whole lot more water. Mix that up. Now the reason for doing this is because you want it runny, so it's going to seep into any little cracks and crevices real easily. And again, with a clean brush, just going to go ahead and apply it over the entire surface. And that's what it looks like. So you can vary up the different pigments you use, and you can also do multiple coats with the gray if you're not quite happy with how it looks. You can just keep adding more until it gets to the appearance that you're looking for, and you just want to give this time to dry. Careful when using a hair dryer if you decide to do that, because I got some cracking of the Sculptamold over here and down here. So I've got foam under here. If you heat that up, it'll melt and crack. So be careful with that. And I'll probably go ahead and just use up the remaining pigment and just kind of darken this up a bit more. What we're going to do next is I'm going to be adding a road. I'm just going to be using some extra fine sand and just doing a little dirt road down the center here. Alright, so to add the sand for the dirt road, I'll be using this scenic cement. You can spray it on or you can brush on. I'll be brushing it on for this application because I want it to go in certain places and not in other places. So I'm going to go ahead and pour a bit into a little container. I shouldn't need much, but we'll see. And I'm going to go ahead and just start to apply it where I'm going to be applying sand. And you want a good amount so that it's going to soak into the sand a bit. And ideally you'd want to lay down some like newspaper or a big, if you had a big plastic bin to kind of catch the extra would be ideal. One thing I don't want out of this mix are the rocks, because they're just a little bit too big. I might use some of the small ones, but for the most part I'm going to avoid those. And once I've got my dirt laid down, I want to add a bit more glue, and just using the sprayer, or I'm just using the scenic sprayer, but you can use pretty much any cheap little squirt bottle. And you just want to go ahead and carefully soak your water, or your sand. Probably going on way too heavy, but alright, so I'm just laying stuff out again just to get a feel for it. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to be applying turf to all the other areas that are just this bare rock. I'll be using this fine turf earth color. Again, this will be basically the same thing as the sand. I'll be just using the scenic cement and brushing it on where I want to apply the fine turf. Alright, so we're getting pretty close to being finished with this diorama. I kind of thinned out some of the earth fiber that I used just to expose some of the rock underneath, and I think that looked pretty good. But I picked up a couple more turfs. I got burnt grass and soil, as well as a coarse turf. I got light green coarse turf, and what this will do is it'll add some more variety into this, just to make it look like there's a variety of different plants and stuff. So what we're going to do is start to get this wet with scenic glue again and start to sprinkle down some soil and some burnt grass here and there. And I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle this in. And I'm going to focus the darker pigment under the trees and kind of do like the burnt grass more out in the open. And it's starting to look a lot better. Now I'm going to add some of the light green coarse turf. This was the burnt grass. So there'll be some variety in there, which will be pretty nice. And now that I've got it the way I want it, I'm going to go ahead and apply some scenic glue to tack everything down. And probably the last task at hand will be to add some underbrush to these areas where the trees are. And for that I'll be using a mix of the bushes. These are kind of left over from trees, and I threw in some bushes, or dark green bushes in there. So we got a mix. What I'm actually going to do is mix in a little bit of tacky glue, not much. And go ahead and mix that up. And now I have a very tacky bunch of underbrush. It's got a lot of different colors to it, and I can just go ahead and stick this down wherever I want.